Hello everyone, AVM here. It's been a few months since the last devlog, and one of the biggest things that happened was Sage 2023. I made a demo for my game and submitted it to Sage, and currently the game sits at almost 1,000 downloads if each view is to count as a download, which really means a lot to me. Thank you all so much for playing the demo. Anyways, after I released this demo, I ended up taking a break from developing the fan game for a few months, and then got back into it around the end of September. During development, Vazashi actually finished their Cave Story beta remake that they were making, and so now I have access to some of the assets that they've made for that remake, speeding up development. So I'd like to give a huge thanks to them. I'd also like to thank Shinsei Katsu for allowing me to use their beta Game Over music remake, as it's of course better than the Pio Pio player track that I just copy-pasted into the game. Okay, so some of the first things I tackled was feedback from the Sage demo, such as unfairness with level and game design, bosses requiring you to spam your weapons, and issues with controller input. That last one actually ended up making someone who streamed the game quit, so despite how small these issues might seem, it was important to tackle them all because they had big impact on the game. Lots of little stuff like that was worked on, but something I really want to talk about is the big refactor. At some point, I ended up showing my code to my friend Jeff Tastic, who said that it of course had a lot of problems, and he was right. My game has 0 custom classes, not to mention the player script, for example, was 4,000 lines long, tons of repeated code, not in functions, terrible connection and design. The game may look and run good, but inside it's not pretty to set up at all. On top of that, even with the problematic approach to game functionality, the biggest part that was slowing me down was the systems were not designed to create stuff quickly, which, would I have done better, would probably have saved me a whole bunch of time. So that's the reasoning behind the refactor, but how did the refactor actually go? When it comes to refactoring, it's often painful and long, and if I were to go about refactoring the traditional way, I bet that it would have taken me at least a couple of months to catch back up to where I was. So I didn't do any of that, and instead decided to only refactor the systems that impacted the speed of production. To explain what it was like before the refactor, systems like dialogue, the boss health bar, and technically also NPCs were all connected to the player's functionalities in some way. This is obviously done for convenience, but convenience doesn't necessarily equal speed. So I went ahead and separated these systems and made them into their own scenes. While I'm still not going to be using any custom classes for this project, everything works really nicely now. Take the NPC scene for example. Obviously all of the NPC nodes are there, but also inside of every NPC is a dialogue system scene, which allows me to connect but also individualize certain functionality and separate them into scenes, making things much cleaner and inherently faster to work with. Room loading, doors, and chests all got refactored. To further point out how helpful this was, a common bug that players were experiencing during Pooh's third boss fight was where the health bar for the boss wouldn't change. However, because I put it into its own scene and did some refactoring, that bug should never happen again. Anyways, that's basically the refactor summed up. So let's talk about level design. A little creative decision I've made for Cave Story the Desolate is to give each area its own little extra flair, like the glass in the caves and the hanging flower pots in the central. For the caves, I redesigned some rooms and enemy layouts to present, improve, and introduce the mechanics of the game better. I also replaced that weird floating water soap with a piranha enemy that chases the player if they're in its proximity while in water. A lot of small changes that add up. Initially for the sand zone, I wanted to go for a Japanese sort of theme to support the idea that a traditional lifestyle was happening in the sand zone for the spirits. However, at some point these spirits were disturbed, and that's why you see the floating cat spirits in this area. At some point, I came to the conclusion that the tile set that I made for this theme was pretty bad and didn't really fit the Cave Story style, and so I scrapped that. Then I came upon another idea about transporting cargo. The Mimiga, at some point, used to transport goods through the sand zone because it was convenient. However, spirits got disturbed and shifted the level layout, making it no longer safe to transport goods throughout the sand zone. Again, I made a new tile set and ended up scrapping most of it due to it just not fitting. However, I kept around a couple of things, specifically this car and some green boxes which were recolored from an existing Cave Story tile set. And I also added these trains that Vazashi made because they're just really good and fit the theme that I was trying to go for really well. For the central, I added some more NPCs, and at some point, I decided to get a book to write my ideas in, and in this book, I wrote down my ideas for the level design of the central apartments, adding some extra stuff to do in the central. At the end of the video, I'll show how some of these ideas connect with new content in this build. Okay, now let's talk about some of the weapon reworks. Some of these are minor stat changes to entire overhauls. The energy cannon got buffed to have a slightly bigger hitbox and do slightly more damage. The travel distance and the trail for the weapon is also longer. However, its upgraded variant, the PX energy cannon, got an entire rework. It now shoots a ball of energy with orbitals around it, similar to the whimsical star, and after some time, this ball of energy will die out and its hitbox will get larger, therefore dealing more damage. The sprites for the energy ball are derived from unused sprites because I thought it really fit for what I was trying to go for. Previously, the weapon also had 100 ammo, but I reduced it to 30 because it can do a lot of damage. I also made it so that you have to charge the weapon, similar to the spur. And yeah, let me know what you think about this rework in the comments below. For the machine gun, I buffed the ammo from 500 to 600, but reduced the damage by 50%. I also increased the bullet speed, which is somewhat of a buff and a nerf, since you can't take advantage of the spread as much as before. And for the shotgun, I was inspired by this old mock-up Vasashi made for a shotgun weapon, so I tried to recreate it for this rework. For the shotgun, I ended up reducing the ammo count from 200 to 50, but I increased the fire rate and made it so that you can hold down the fire button when using this weapon. The travel distance is also increased, and since the bullets go pretty fast, I think it makes it a viable alternative to the fireball since it's accessible at the same point in the game. For all of the weapons in the game, I've gone ahead and reworked them to be accessible earlier for convenience, but I've also reworked their prices so that they fit into the progression better. Now let's talk about some of the bosses. All except the Mimiga boss have gotten reworked in some way or another. Since I've made bubbles breakable again, it makes the first poo boss much easier, but since I changed the bubble behavior for the second poo boss, it makes that encounter more predictable but also more difficult. The third poo boss is maybe somewhat easier but also harder because I've added some things in there, and there's also a new boss for the second part of the sand zone at the end of this video, which is just about now. So enjoy the gameplay, and I'll see you in the next devlog.